All right, I will first people for people come to order. Randy, will you lead us in the prayer and Melinda in the pledge?
Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you so much for this opportunity for us all to gather together. Lord, guide us in all that we do and all that we talk about, Lord. Give us wisdom and understanding in each and everything that we discuss tonight. And Lord, thank you for all the blessings you have given this district. In Christ's name, we lift ourselves up. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Council. Yes, sir.
We got these chairs, some of these chairs.
Yeah, because mine was going down.
All right.
No, I'll swap.
One meeting at a time. All right, we'll have a roll call. Randy Rentz,
Here.
Bo Martin, Melinda Ballard. Here. Baron Glass.
Here.
Maria Bass.
Here.
Gary Castles.
Here.
Johnny Fallon. Here.
All right. Item A is executive committee report.
Went over all the checks, everything was good. Sales taxes are up this past month, about 3%, a little over 3%. We're still sitting basically even for the year, going into next month. And we did open the bids, we went on the leasing of the tracks, and we've been doing that on item G in the agenda. We'll be going over that.
Thank you, Randy. All right, item B is review and vote on approval of the June 13th, 2024 board meeting minutes, June 26th, 2024 special board meeting minutes, and the July 10th, 2024 policy
And Mr.
committee
Council,
meeting minutes.
can
Yes,
we
sir.
move E up and get that before we do the policy, because it's gonna take about a minute to do that.
All right, where you want to move to?
If we can do E.
We also have policy down at J.
Oh, do it? Okay.
Yeah, the cell phone, yeah. I think that's just the minutes.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
A second.
All in favor say aye.
Uh,
All right. Item C is recognize Brittany Ryder as the July Employee of the Month. Rebecca?
So, Miss Ryder couldn't be here today. She's actually on vacation. I think this is the only week all summer that she wasn't gonna be here, but I'm still gonna do this for her. So I don't know how many of you know Brittany Ryder, but she is the most precious human being that I get to be around on a regular basis. And she's one of our speech therapists. She is currently housed at Grayson, so she gets to work with kindergarten and first grade. And here's some of the other things that other staff members wrote about her. Brittany goes above and beyond. She works hard to make sure her kids' goals are met. She's very sweet and kind, and the children and adults love her. Brittany takes a genuine interest in her students and works hard with them so they can meet their goals. She is always willing to help others and works nonstop from the time she gets to work until the time she leaves each day. She communicates well with coworkers and school staff. And I think you hear the same thing in everything that was said, that she's got a wonderful, kind personality, but just also an amazingly hard worker too. She never stops. So I'm very proud to accept this for her, and I'll get this to her as soon as she gets back in town.
All right, thank you. Item D is recognize Congress and Caldwell transitions class.
You're good.
I'm Michelle Lindsay. I am the transition specialist for Conquering Caldwell. That's what we call our group. I do write stuff down because if I don't, we'll be here all night because I'll go off something crazy. So this summer we offered a summer school program, enrolled the kids from the transition program. Miss Piercy, who could not be here tonight, she had a family engagement, and I worked with the students to obtain their food handler certification and expose them to real world experiences in the food industry. We had 10 total students. 2 were already certified and they assisted with other students. And out of the other 8, 2 chose not to take the test. I kind of spoke with them and they didn't want to, and I'm not here to force or make someone unhappy. And the other 6 that took it all passed the certification. So for some of these students, it was their first certification they've ever passed. They were very proud of themselves. We got a lot of great feedback from the parents and from the students. Just a golf group, I'll tell you, we probably had more fun than they've ever had because we did the certification and then we were going on field trip after field trip after field trip. I want to thank Subway and Haven. They both reached out, and we talked to them, and they let our kids come get real world experience. They were able to take their certification and actually apply it. And in case you don't know, one of them that didn't take the certification can actually apply it in the real world. He knew to wash his hands, to put his gloves on, he knew what to follow. So just because he didn't get certified doesn't mean anything compared to the rest, because he can still do all the steps. He's on vacation, and most of my kids are out of town, so I got 4 of them here. I can't brag enough on them. They just went around, they were so polite, respectful. It looked good on them, it looks good on us, because they knew how to behave. They knew what was expected of them. I mean, I can't brag on them enough. For me to see them get there, like one of our students, he was so proud of himself. He'd come out and he was like, "I passed it," you know. And I only scored 5 more points than him, and he pointed that out to me once I did the certification. That you know, he was right behind me. And I've taught some of these kids multiple times from elementary to high school, so to see their growth and to see how well they did is amazing. And if you know Miss Kathy Martin, I'll mention her son. He will push you out of his way until you know he does not want any help, and he will get out there and do all the work himself. And I think some people just don't expect him to do it. He doesn't care. He's like, I got this. And so he had a great time. She said he went back to church and took the skills with him to show them how to do snow cones and what they needed to do and what not to do. He would tell them, So I just hope that y'all are as proud of the students as I am. This is not a reflection on myself or Miss Piercy. This is a reflection on them. They were the ones that worked hard, and they were the ones that earned it. We were just the ones that facilitated.
And they got paid, right?
Yes, they did get paid, and they were very excited. I got calls about cashing their checks today. They were very excited. So, if y'all would like to stand up, if you want, you don't have to. If you don't want to.
Love to see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Michelle, two questions, and
Yes,
then I want them to be able to speak on their experience. My first question is, this is the inception year of this program, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the second question is, what is it that they can do to offer you guys information and instruction that can make this program better for next year? And what is it that they can do to encourage the other kids at the school to make the second year better than the first year? Because I think since they've been involved, all the experiences that somebody else may experience,
Yes, sir.
they can eliminate the problems and the issues that have been there. So I would like, if you guys are not afraid, nobody's going to do anything to you, but I would like for those who are not here to understand some of the programs that we have, how those programs have been able to enhance your ability when you leave school, that you can be proud of what Caldwell Parish school system has done for you. And if they didn't do anything, you can say that. But I would like to hear what you guys have to say, because they can tell me whatever they want to tell me. But I want to hear from you guys, was the program a success? What are some of the bumps and bruises, and what can we do to make this better? If either one of you guys don't mind. Let your mom and dad see how brave you are.
Does anybody want to tell us what they like about the program?
This one is too shy.
Why don't you tell them what you like?
Well, I liked about the field trips and going to see different restaurants and seeing, putting our food handling safety to work, and actually seeing what actual restaurants do and what the future holds for us in restaurant business and all that. And just a bunch of interactions with people, and how it feels to be more open to more stuff.
Did it build up your confidence?
Yes, sir, it did.
Self-esteem?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the first one have talk, so it's usually easy for the second one.
So James, let me just lead you. I know you weren't real sure at first that this was something that you wanted to spend your time this summer doing, but was it as horrible as you thought it was going to be? I'll take that.
He was the first one. I'm going to be honest. He came in the first day and he said, "Hey, Miss Lindsay," and I said, "Yes, James." He said, "How many of these days do I have to come to get paid?" I said, "You have to come 12 or 15. He didn't miss a day.
So since you're shy, would you recommend this for another person?
And they did get to go down, to reiterate that, to the Kaleidoscope Cafe, the off-site learning facility space. And we did some things down there. We're just waiting on permits, and that's kind of a state thing. But they were able to go down there, and Isaac did make us clean and pick up, and he would tell us if we weren't doing it right. So they got to go down there and have ownership of that space that they're going to be in, which was huge. I had to step back, and we had some OT ladies that came in, Mickey and Odie, and they were like, no, you gotta let them do it. And they took ownership of that place, and they're very proud of that place. I mean,
She's not gonna tell you, but she was one of our kiddos that was able to come and help serve on 4th of July. If you went to the downtown facility, if you were at any of the festivities there, and she was scooping ice cream and serving to customers and did a great job. Was that fun? Yeah. She didn't talk a lot that day either, but she was very efficient with getting her job done.
So Michelle and Rebecca, this shouldn't be the last conversation that we hear about this tonight, because again, other people need to know what's going on, what's offered, and how their kids can benefit from what we're offering, especially if they're not going to college. They can eliminate that debt, and they can have some type of trade once they leave this particular facility, not just walking across the stage graduating, but actually being educated. So if we can get some feedback from here on out, that would be good.
that's awesome. Just so you know, we do have 33 kids in the total program throughout the school system. You do have to be 16 and meet certain requirements. And we did offer this program to all of them. It was the first 10 that signed up. And so some of them were doing CNA and logistics and things like that. So they know I'm doing real well with the parents. I'm sending home flyers. I'm trying to keep the public, give them knowledge of what we're doing, because I'm proud of the kids.
Is that shared on the district page?
Well, anything we do share on the district page. She starts at the high school and then they share it. So you can, if you go look on the district page, I made her a slideshow, but their pictures of what they did this summer is on there. We cooked and we ate a lot of sugar. I don't know if the parents appreciated that too much when I sent them home, but Isaac, I sent him home with a lot of cookie cake was ate. I'm sorry.
Well, Mr. Council, let's offer a unanimous resolution commending Michelle, Rebecca, and those students, and mention them by name, Kaylee. And they may not talk, but they're gonna have to take a photo.
Oh, they'll take photos. Don't worry about that. They absolutely will.
Well, we are super proud of y'all.
And they're actually the first class.
Yes, sir. The first time
The
we've done
first
this.
class.
Hoping to see this every summer. We get a few in and get them certified, because it's just different than doing it in the classroom. It's more specialized for them.
Great.
Thank you.
Kaylee, you the camera lady.
I am. Where y'all want to get me?
Yeah. Give them from North Carolina. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do this.
All right, students, picture
Our
time.
kiddos.
You're just gonna stand right here in front of the board, and we'll change your calls.
Yeah, Isaac's pretty.
Yeah, we got short.
I'm gonna get on the side. Don't sit down. Yep, and then James, let's see. You did windows. Well, how about we go back here with them? That might be
Or
better.
maybe
There's
we
the
go up
stairs.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can come up.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going up front. Don't trip over the doors.
Let them get behind and then we'll get aside, okay? You're tall, so you're gonna get on the tall people.
Zoom out with your cell phone around.
I don't think
All right.
we need all.
I can
Well, I don't know. You go. I got her already. Well, wait a minute. No, I don't think
All right, y'all, right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Got it. All right, got
If y'all, we
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right. Item E is carbon credits by Forest Carbon Specialist, Mr. Mark Brown.
Yes, sir. I think I'll sit right here.
All right, fine.
I can see y'all better from here than I can if I move forward. My name is Mark Brown. I live in Ravel, from there, born there. Went off to tech, got a degree in forestry, and that's what I've been doing for a long, long time. One of my schoolmates, y'all might remember Glenn Haddocks, I think was from down here. Does that ring a bell, anybody?
It does, thank you.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I've worked in the woods with a lot of the loggers from down here and know several of them. And it's been a good time in forestry, but I'm getting old now where I can't cover as much ground. So this carbon thing came along just about the right time for me, and I did not know one thing about carbon. And if you don't know a thing about carbon, welcome to the club. I hope maybe when we get through you'll know a little bit more. The whole idea of this thing, we identify landowners as timberland, just like yourselves. Let me start off and say that I've already enrolled Morehouse, Richland School Board, LaSalle hit a home run. I mean, within the first 5 years, LaSalle's gonna make $900,000 with this carbon thing. So it can mean a lot of money to y'all. I've got some information based on what we have found here. I've talked to David. We discussed this a good while ago. But the whole thing is, a tree, during the process of photosynthesis, takes in carbon dioxide out of the air, and it stores it in the wood. That carbon dioxide will remain in that wood. I don't even see any lumber in here, but if you look at a green tree, about 25% of the weight of a green tree, and it varies because of species. Oaks are much denser and will store a lot more carbon than, say, a pine. But anyway, when it stores that carbon, if that tree or lumber or whatever it's manufactured into, as long as it doesn't rot or burn, that carbon remains in that wood. And I never knew any of that, before this came along. But then on the other side, you've got people like Exxon, Walmart, JB Hunt, you name it, industry people are putting carbon dioxide into the air through their process of manufacturing, freight, whatever. And they're able now to measure, kind of get a feel for how much carbon dioxide they're putting into the air. And all of this is so new, and technology has developed so fast that our company is 3 years old, and we were one of the first. And what our company did for the last 15 or so years, the big companies have been putting 100,000 acres of blocks at one time. But our company, Navy State, our boss, Stuart Allen, is a petroleum engineer, and the way they would develop a oil field is get 40 acres here, 80 acres here, and they would put maybe 10, 20,000 acres together. And that's what he's done with his carbon thing, which gives the small landowner like ourselves a chance to participate. What we do is, first, we do an aerial photograph of your property, which we've done right here, and we can pretty much determine through that aerial photograph about how much carbon that your forest has got. We try to be about 10 to 20% conservative. We don't want to overblow this report, but it gives us an idea. From this, we can develop a cash flow, which I'll go into in greater detail. But once we've done that, the person, let's just say that the board wants to go along with this thing. The next step would be to sign an agreement. Understand that it is a 40-year program. We didn't develop 40-year program. This came from the American Carbon Registry. You've got a brochure in that folder which explains the American Carbon Registry. They're the most rigorous registry there is that comes back and checks carbon. But what we do is first thing is to put in a timber cruise on that property. We do it by way of GPS. When we establish that point, it's certain coordinates that point is established. It's given a number and it goes into the registry. It's a permanent plot. That plot will be measured every 5 years because we're gonna be looking at new growth in the future. Also, when we get through with that cruise, we submit that information to the American Carbon Registry. They send their foresters out and they audit our plots, which gives credibility, or verifies what we say is out there. And that's what the buyer wants to see. I mean, they may not know every state, but they know if ACR has checked it and approved it, then it becomes real. And so those carbon credits, it's just like any other commodity, corn or whatever, it's gonna fluctuate. It's gonna go up, it's gonna be down. But right now, this evening, I'm gonna show you about where that market is right now and what it will mean to you. If you'll turn, I think it's page 14, you'll see this right here. It's got blue, yellow, and brown columns right here on page 14. Y'all are with me? Okay. If you look down in the, all right, the yellow column is the most current price. We just sold some for $15 on the AE side and 28 on the RE side, which I'll explain that to you too, but I know I'm limited on time. AE credits are those credits that are there right now. That forest might be 100 years old. We're gonna be looking at all of those credits at one time. Those credits are selling at 15. The RE credits, in other words, after we sell all your credits, then we're gonna be looking at new growth. That's RE credits. Those are selling right now at 25 to 28. So when we get through doing our plots, then we submit all that information to ACR. They will be checking everything. You got to dot every I and cross every T with those folks. It takes about 12 to 18 months from when we begin to when you're going to be able to get paid for the credits. Now up front, you're going to get an advancement of $20 per acre, and that's forested acres. And let me see what that is. That will be $15,000 will be paid to y'all within 60 days of the date that you sign the contract. And that's strictly an advancement. When you get paid your first carbon credit check, that $15,000 will come out of that first check. I want to make that clear. But because it's so long between the time you sign up to the time we are able to pay you that carbon check, we feel like, an advancement is in order. So once we do that, then like I say, we come back every 5 years. And let me explain this to you. When you look at page 14, let's go there now. All right, let's look at your yellow column. Come down 5 years, and within the first 5 years, we project that we'll be paying you $324,000. Around it off. Now those prices are going to vary. This is nothing more than a projection based on today's price. Now that might be 2 or 3 payments. We might just take, because you're going in with a lot of other people. What we try to do is take you and a lot of other people to make up about 15 or 20,000 acre block before we can go to market with it. So we need a lot of help down here finding more acres of people to develop that block. But you're part of that block. But if you look at, we're looking at 751 forested acres, and if you divide that into that first 5-year payment, that's $431 an acre. Beats the heck out of that doggone. I'm late. But again, this is approximately, okay? Now, another thing to notice, if you look at the total 40-year program, you're looking at $634,391. And if you divide that back into what you made the first 5 years, into the 323, you're making 51% of the total 40-year payment will be paid to you within the first 5 years. And then it's going to be smaller annual payments based on the new growth. And that's why we go back and remeasure those plots, because we can basically, we know basically by your soil types and species about how fast that forest is growing, and we'll be making payments. But then when we get out there 5 years, we're gonna make a check on ourselves and see where we are. If we're too high, we'll drop back. If we're too low, we'll speed it up. But you'll get paid, and also, I did all the years under the select, harvest, after David and I talked about it, because you're gonna wanna cut timber also over that 4-year period. We're showing right there after the 10th year that, you could, possibly earn up to $122,000 on this timber, on a timber sale. So you can cut your timber and also grow carbon at the same time. We're hoping that this carbon is gonna go so high that you won't even want to cut timber. But we don't, I know this is a timber town right here, you'll always have that. But, do you have any questions so far about anything? Does it make sense to you?
So what does this carbon do? Why is it such a valuable market?
Well, that's a good question, and the answer is the public right now is putting, every time you turn the TV on, there's something about global warming, greenhouse gas, or blah, 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 blah. And the public is putting so much pressure on these companies. What are you doing about the earth heating up? And also, the lenders, the Goldman Sachs and such as those, they're putting pressure on the industry. What are you doing about global warming? And what they're doing, when they put their footprint, or the amount of carbon they're putting into the atmosphere, they're coming over here and offsetting that amount of carbon by buying carbon that's stored in trees. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it is. But back to that green tree that be 20–25% of the weight. By the time that's made into lumber and dry kiln, about 50% of dry kiln lumber is carbon. And as long as it doesn't burn, it's in your house right now, you got carbon. And that's what they're buying. And this is a $1 billion or billions industry. And it's growing leaps and bounds. California, we just moved into California, they're mandated out there to offset their carbon footprint. And the situation out there is completely different, because they know all about carbon out there. And they're coming to us wanting to buy carbon credits. Here, it's strictly a voluntary market, and that's where we want to keep it. We don't want, the government doesn't have a thing to do with this. It might, in some aspects of industry that they're trying to work with, I don't know about that, but with us, the government doesn't have anything to do with us. So it's strictly voluntary.
So most of what we've got here is hardwood, right?
Yes, sir, you've got all hardwood.
Right.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
But,
the majority is hardwood.
but you see those individual pictures,
Right.
and one page shows, where it's located all over the parish,
Right.
but, yeah.
The
And
majority,
that's what
the
we
majority
want.
is hard.
Sorry?
The majority is hard.
Yeah, and that's what we're really looking for, is hard. I mean, we'll take pine too, but the situation on pine is a little different, especially in plantation pine. Now they're cutting that, they're cutting it for 30 years and starting over again, so it doesn't fit our program, we gotta go 40. But on select cut pine timber, it would fit.
You show this revenue in the yellow column.
Sure.
And you're talking about the select harvest carbon credit revenue.
Yeah.
This is with a select carbon
It is.
harvest in
And
the yellow
I
column?
didn't even, we have a deferred harvest, which means you can't cut no commercial thinnings in the deferred. And as David and I talked, he said, Mark, we want to go select. So I didn't even put the deferred numbers in there. Although under the deferred, you would start off at a 40% royalty rather than 30% on the select. Under the deferred, you would make more money on carbon, but when you look at the select, you're gonna make a lot more money because you're adding your timber prices in there with the carbon. And let me say one more thing, I forget this. All right, and this, won't let this throw you now, it's not complicated, although I'll probably make that way. All right, let's say, when we do our inventory, let's just say, for example, and you got 1,000 credits out there. What we do is take half of those credits, 500 credits will remain at 30% royalty to y'all. The other 50% is on the index, and that's what those graphs show. The index, anything above $15 of credit, and that's about where it is right now, anything above $15, you go from a 30% royalty to a 50% royalty. Anything above $20, you go from a 50% royalty to an 80% royalty. And that's why you see those escalating numbers. If you just look right down there under that yellow column, because of the index royalty, you're earning an extra $82,000 on the index. Now that wasn't with me on that. Because a lot of people just, have a real hard time understanding that.
Such a new concept.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think, as far as I know, we're the only one with an increased index. And there have been other companies that have come through doing a one-year deal, maybe some of y'all are exposed to that, but they found out they couldn't sell their credits on the other end on a one-year deal. Exxon wants 40 years, they want something with longevity, and that's why the registry has us, set up on 40 years. And we do what the registry says. They're the ones that tell us how to do all this. And there's a lot of hoops to jump through before we get to the other end. And that's why it takes maybe 18 months for us to get all this done.
So is there an
This is all
upfront cost for us?
Ma'am?
Is there an upfront cost for us?
No, it doesn't cost you in there anyway. It's all on us.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So how do you get the carbon out of the trees? You're not
Don't.
cutting the trees?
We don't.
You don't?
No.
Carbon
We
stored, that's the
want it to
store.
stay right there.
Oh, so you just want the tree
Because
to
it's
stay
not in,
there?
because it's
So I
not
was
in.
like thinking about the syrup.
So
I know it. And I've been asked that a lot, don't feel bad, because they say, well, how you get the carbon out? We want it to stay right in that wood because it's not in the
So
atmosphere.
they're basically paying us not to cut the trees.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
abstract.
To store the carbon.
Will your company help us know when we should harvest,
Oh,
if we do
yeah, now see,
harvest?
that's another thing. When we do that inventory, when we get through, we produce what's called an improved forest management plan. It's about 50 pages long, and it covers everything from soil to species. We're gonna make recommendations, but it's up to you. Now, we're gonna ask that you don't cut anything for the first 5 years, and possibly, we'll just have to look at your stands and see, we'll know more when we put that cruise in as to when, but it's probably gonna be 10 years before you cut timber, something like that, 10 or 15 years. But if you could just get in your mind, and as a forester, so many times a landowner, as soon as they got enough timber, Mark, let's make a cut. And I'd have to go out there and just really butcher that stand to make enough for a logger to be interested in cutting it, or a mill interested in buying it. But if you take some change in mindset, if you let that stand grow another 15 years and let those small trees become, big trees, then you don't have to cut so much, and the next cut can be followed much shorter time than it was when I go out there and just murder that stand and get a cut. And it looks like the difference too. But when you let it grow, it becomes more valuable and a lot easier to
When
manage.
was the last time we had, timber cut?
Just,
Baron, do you remember?
On this stand, I don't know. Been a while.
Yeah, Gary, my question is this.
What's the basal index on this stand, do you know?
I don't know.
You haven't been out there.
I haven't, I looked at it with the
Not
photograph.
strictly aerial photographs.
But now, see, once we go out there, our forestry, see, we put in that plot, it's a 1/20th acre plot. And we measure that tree diameter, breast height, that's where you measure a
Right.
standing tree, to the 1/10 of an inch. When I measure with a Biltmore, I measure it to the nearest 2 inch. So this is an accurate cruise. And also we take an instrument and we shoot the height from the very ground to the very tip top of the limbs. Because what we're trying to do is determine how much biomass is in that stand.
So you're doing a 5% cruise, 10% cruise, what kind of cruise?
Well, it's not like a 5% or 10%. Our GIS guys put in pixels, and I didn't even put this page in there because of time and because of explaining it. But those pixels, depending on the size of the acreage we're doing, depends on how many plots we're gonna put in.
Right.
But it'll be enough for us to be able to judge how much carbon you got.
All right, on your carbon, your storage capacity as far as hardwood, I know it's different than pine.
Yeah.
So, this is all figured on, this is all figured on hardwood, I'm assuming.
No,
Then how
well,
are you getting your, if the storage capacity is different, how are you getting these figures?
when those GIS guys look at this, they
They
can
can
pretty
tell
much-
whether it's hardwood or pine.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
most of this is figured on hardwood, right?
I don't know, it depends on what's out there in that stand, you know, and they'll pick up with whatever it is.
All right, and this 323,000 in 5 years, will we receive that 323,000
Well,
in 5 years?
that's strictly a projection.
Okay,
That-
but
that's
and your projection each year after that is about 60,000 a year or so after
Yeah.
that, so that's 15,000 a year.
But understand this.
I mean, over a
If-
5 year period, so that's
Well-
15,000 a year over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, and 40 would be a little bit more.
Well, what we're hoping that it moves on up to that 20 and 35, then you're gonna move from 323 to 46. And it can
Right.
do that, but I'm not sitting here telling you it will.
Right.
It's like you tell me
Carbon
the price
prices.
of lumber, in 10 years. We can't do it. All we're doing is making a projection based on what today's market is. That's all we're doing, just a projection.
My question is, what's the risk?
Not even
That-
this.
What is our risk?
No risk?
Because I'm not hearing any risk.
But you know what I tell
I
people?
don't think there's a risk.
What I tell people is this can get real complicated if you dig into the nuts and bolts, but here's how simple this is. That tree, from daylight to dark, as long as it's got a leaf on it, is doing this thing. It's taking carbon dioxide and storing it. It's a matter if you want to get paid for it.
I mean,
So don't come.
So my question is this, you said 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So 2 years from now, when a new board comes in and they decide they don't want to do this, they want to do something else, are we locked into that?
You are.
Okay, see, I can't put that burden on somebody else who may come in that, and the conditions may be better then than they are now. David, I wish, this kind of would have went to the Building Ground Committee before it got here, so we could have gotten a little bit more information, because I'm not saying that I'm against it, I just don't know enough about it right now for me to consciously say, yeah, nay, so is this something that has to be done tonight? Because I'm interested in knowing as much as I can, because times are changing,
Right,
and I would like to be conscious enough to
right.
know what
And
it is
see,
and what's not.
If the price goes up,
Mhm.
we have that index in there, you're gonna enjoy the benefit of it going up.
Right.
Right.
But the future is locked in. That's
If
my
we
only.
don't- If we don't produce in the first 5 years, if we don't sell your credits, you can get out in the first 5 years. But what we're doing, it's a contract, and we're looking at long-term, in order to make this.
Well, I guess the reason why I have that question is, we've never given anything beyond a 15 or 25-year contract from the board. So it's kind of hard to accept something 15 more years beyond what we've done. Again, I'm not saying that the concept is not good, because I think everything is moving to biofuels and all this other stuff. So I think it's something that we definitely can and should entertain, especially if it's not something that has to be done tonight.
We will have to.
why don't we call a building
Brent, you're on the building
lands
ground, because I would like to
committee
more
meeting
from,
and
I would like
invite
to
you
know more
back?
from you
If we
being
just
involved
call a
in
committee
trees.
meeting with the building lands committee and have you come back, so we have
Gary,
a
you
little more time to look
I
into it.
don't know, you both,
I don't think I am.
Yeah.
who is
Is it
you?
LaSalle in your capacity now?
They're fixing the superintendent's out of the office right now, but their contract is sitting on the desk. When he gets in Monday, he's gonna sign it. Y'all might talk to LaSalle, because they checked us out pretty good.
Okay.
And we've signed up y'all over 200,000 acres right now. And we've signed up some big hunting clubs on the Mississippi River that have got a bunch of lawyers in it. They checked us out from A to Z. But I don't blame you, because I'm coming, you don't know me, you don't know me from any state, I understand.
Well,
But
and
check us out.
there may be somebody on our legal
How
team
big a
who
block are y'all wanting
specializes
before
in
y'all
this,
sell
who
any
comes to
credits?
this
How
meeting.
big a
We're
block?
trying to get them about 15 to 20,000 acre block.
Yeah, definitely.
And
15 to
Talk about
20,000.
And we've already done, when I went to work for this company, November of
Sounds
23,
good, but.
22,
It's kind of like,
it took us about a year to
I know.
get together 23,000 acres. And we're in the Delta. You're in the timber country up here. You know, I mean, if we can do that in the Delta, and see, we're in the Mississippi, Texas,
Do you keep over the price of carbon?
I don't. Stuart Allen does, he's the one that takes it and sells it. He's, you know, I don't know a thing about the sales end of it, but I just know that he hedges, you know, he might not buy but 20, out of that whole 20,000 acres, he might not use but 25% at one time, waiting on maybe the market to go on up. That's strictly up to Stuart, and I don't know a thing about it.
And do the payments come out, say you're in a block, do y'all put it in one block? Or like, we're 751 acres out of a 20,000 acre block,
Yeah.
and when y'all sell, we get a piece of that pie out of the 20,000?
You get exactly what you have in it. The 20,000
The percentage
acres
that we
doesn't
have
affect you. Because you're gonna get paid what's yours. Does that make sense? I mean, the 20,000 acres is not gonna affect what you make. It's just that we have to have a big block to interest the buyer on the other.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, do you put this all in one pie?
Yeah.
And then, say you sell 20% of that 20,000 acres?
Yeah, that's
We
right.
get a piece of that 20%
that
by how many
represents,
acres we have
that
in it?
represents
You're
our.
gonna get whatever the price of that carbon credit is, and whatever
Whatever the
percentage
percentage that we
let's
have
say
in
if
it.
you got 1,000 credits, just for
Right,
example.
right,
Then
I
you're
know.
gonna get 20% of 1,000 credits. You see, I mean, you're gonna make only what you have in the game.
Right.
And you're part of a 20,000 acre deal, but you're
We
only
only
got
have-
750 acres in it.
Right.
So whatever carbon credits that you develop is what you'll be paid for.
Yeah, so we'll be paid by a percentage of what it is, right? In other words, if we have 2% of that whole block of now, I'm not saying it's gonna be 2%, but what I'm
Yeah,
saying
but
is,
no.
if we just have 2% of that whole block,
You,
and they sell that, and we just get 2% of whatever.
I don't think you can look at it like 2% of the whole block. You're just looking at what credits you've got. And whatever credits you got, if he's selling 20%, we're gonna take 20% of yours, yeah.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I understand.
Here's math and algebra in real life.
So we need to have, y'all
Yeah, no,
have
yeah,
this
Mr.
to
Brown,
talk about.
I'm speaking for me, I'm not insinuating, suggesting that I don't trust or anything. Me personally, I would just like to get more information, so,
Sure.
because what I'm doing now
Yeah,
ultimately affects somebody who comes behind me. And if I'm gonna do that, I wanna make sure that it's not gonna affect them and their power and their right to do it. I would like, cause I trust Randy, cause he's dealt with this, and I'd like to ask David May, some information on it as well, cause I think it's something that's new, we just don't know enough about it. It's probably gonna be prosperous down the road. So if you can come back, you know, to the committee meeting whenever they have it,
yeah.
I think that would be.
David May the forester.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know of David. I
Yeah.
don't know him real well, but, and you're in the timber
I
business?
graduated from Tech in '81.
Okay, forester?
Yep.
All right. Where are you working?
I'm retired.
But Randy, you're on the committee though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you, Maria, okay.
And David's in agreement too, that a committee
So,
meeting would be best.
When
Yeah.
is the soonest they can do it?
David, do you have any suggestions?
Unmute yourself.
Unmute.
I
Unmute.
told him to turn it off.
Unmute.
Here we go.
I told him to mute. and then-
Can't see us,
Okay, there you go.
Baron, you were exactly right, it should go to committee, by all means, but it's so freakishly new that
Yeah,
I
that's
wanted
fine.
everybody to hear it first.
Yeah, that's fine, ain't no problem.
Before going to committee, I know that's kind of backwards,
Yeah.
but again, it's so odd that I mean, I'm not comfortable with by any means, as far as making a vote on it, I'm comfortable in general. But again, I mean, it was one of those things that was way outside my wheelhouse on having a clue as to what I was doing. So one of the full boards, I hear it first, and then go to committee, and then the committee reports back.
But Mr. Brown, I think if you can convince him, you done convinced all of us. So, Randy, this is solely on you. And I'm serious because I'm trusting your judgment, being what you have been. And Gary, I think you would pretty much agree, because you know more about it than I do.
I agree.
Do y'all
Yeah.
wanna, shoot for, do we wanna try to do this before the August meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at Thursday, July 25th at noon.
You available, Mr. Brown?
I will be.
Okay, okay.
But I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna be here, and we don't wanna do it.
July 25th?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here.
okay.
You can be there?
Will you be here on the 24th?
No, that last week in July, I'm gone.
Okay, all right. Let's look at,
When is the first meet, when is the meeting on?
August 8th.
Oh, yeah, well,
So the first week in August.
Could we, okay,
That's start of school, if that makes any.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I could, once we get people in buildings, that's cutting close. What about July the 30th? Are you here that, it's the week that leads into August?
Well, what's wrong with next week?
He's not gonna be here.
What is July 30th?
Is next week?
Yeah, Randy, you'll be here next week, won't you?
Yeah,
You're
I'll be
right.
here the next week.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
We're
right.
talking about
You're
some
right.
serious looking
One
days.
thing I want you to do is get your email address, email me some stuff, and anybody else that might be on this committee.
I have
There's a
a
thing we need to read about where I was at,
Where else are involved in this week?
No, not with us, but they're.
See, I thought they were.
And I can't.
And a lot of our.
The 30th.
Who else will be on this?
I believe Marie.
What about the 30th, July 30th?
Me and Johnny.
John,
July 30th at what, 12 o'clock?
what day is July 30th?
That is a Tuesday.
Yeah, I should be here July 30th.
No, it's gonna be Maria.
Can you do July?
Myself.
All
But you
right.
can email us, that'll be fine. I'm curious.
So are we good with July
No, stick
30th
with
at 12 o'clock?
That's on the complicate matters. Be more questions.
You put him on there.
No, I'm not gonna rely, whatever Randy says, we're gonna go with. If he says a good deal, then hey, you got it.
Randy, give me your phone number.
You gotta watch it now, he's been aggressive lately. You had a good time, so.
I don't mean whatever I say. All right.
Yes, yeah. All right, July 30th at 12 o'clock, we'll have a committee meeting.
July 30th at 12?
Yes,
All right, what day is that, please?
that is on a Tuesday.
And right here?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate
All
y'all's
right,
time.
thank you for the information.
Enjoyed talking with you. If you have any questions, well, y'all got my number right there, so y'all should be talking to me too, Randy. if you got questions.
We definitely got something to do.
Thank you.
All right. Item F, looks like I'm making an announcement, all right?
Change the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, notice is hereby given that at its meeting to be held on Thursday, August 8th, 2024, at 6 p.m. at its regular meeting place, the school board office, 7112 Highway 165, Columbia, Louisiana. The Parish School Board of the Parish of Caldwell, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in Consolidated School District Number 1 of Caldwell Parish, Louisiana, to authorize the continuation of an ad valorem tax therein.
This is basically just like a renewal, right?
It's just a renewal.
And it's a renewal that comes up the following year. We just want to go ahead and get it on the ballot to make sure that it goes through.
Okay. Item G is discuss and vote on hunting lease bids, which I think Randy has. He's gonna read them.
Yeah, go back over them again, the high bids on these, basically the bids. Chad Duncan on track number 4, which is 640 acres at 7,000. Track number 8, 160 acres, Neil Smith at 2,160. Track 17, 560, Tim Richmond. Track 16, 36 acres, Randall Hill, 100. Track 24, Randall Hill, 450.
These for 3 years, right? 3 years.
Yeah.
The 80 is that's how you do, Shan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're 3 year, right, David?
Yes, but
3 years.
Yeah.
the amounts they were quoting was per year. Yes.
Yeah, this is.
So it's for 3
Yeah,
years.
for 3 years.
Year lease, but that's per year.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Correct.
Any objections? You,
I don't,
I have none.
well, I'll make a motion that we, accept the bids as
I'll
random.
second.
All right, all in favor say aye. All right, item H, discuss and vote on purchase of 2 used bus bids, 2 used 2021 model conventional school buses, 71 passenger seating.
I
You wanna-
think there's.
you got something in
should be
here?
Something in your,
Looks like this.
and that's the specs on the buses, that I wanna try to get this year. I told you I was gonna try to save a little money, not buy brand new buses. So we dropped down to go to about a 2020 model, 71 passenger, air conditioner, with video, system in it. And we had one bid that was turned in from Ross Buses. And these buses are leased buses that were turned back into the company. They are low mileage, under 20,000 miles on them apiece. I think the bid was $92,000 apiece.
So air conditioner and video.
Yes, sir.
At, how many miles did you normally get out of this
I don't know, I haven't been in the position long enough to really be able to.
Some of them buses, you have low miles granted that have been, bidded off over a 20-year period. Some of them be, you know, I can't give you what the number is, but they pretty low. It's not, you know, way out. I don't know if it's changed. I know when
You asking how many can we get on?
bus? Think of how many average miles, what's the life expectancy of a school
I guess.
bus?
I don't know
Depends on where it is.
how rough the roads are.
Yeah.
You know, they're running in the hills or running over here.
Well, if I'm reading this right, it looks like by going with the used buses, we're gonna save
Yes,
$76,000.
brand new bus is, what we've done the past 2 years, we've purchased brand new buses at $130,000 a piece. I'm dropping down, getting a used bus that's a lower year, for 92, so I'm saving about roughly $40,000.
They got less than 20,000 on them, you said?
They should.
do our,
I'll get to go pick.
or you will, do our mechanics work on them or we send them somewhere?
Depends on what the problem is.
Are these gas or diesel?
They are gas burners. I'm going all gas.
Okay.
I'm fine with it. What about-
I'd rather spend 92 than
Right
130.
here, a motion
How
to-
close are we to making the routes all have new buses, or fairly new buses?
I'll be gone before. Me and Mary both be gone before. But this will give me,
I mean,
13, this will give me 15 air conditioned buses
out
How
of,
many we
out
got?
of 26.
Okay, we're getting on the,
Yeah.
on the positive side, over the 50% mark.
All right, do I hear a motion that we do it?
I make a motion we accept the bid.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Uh,
All right.
Thank you for
Item
shopping.
I is financial update. You got anything, David?
I'll be very brief, it's all on that page, there's no financial update as far as where we are on 24 at this point yet. All payrolls for fiscal year 24 have been processed, accounts payable is largely done, we still have some bills that we're still paying for 24, so that's the reason we're still, holding up on releasing anything. Business office has done a great job, and the audit's about to start.
David, the sales tax checks and all that went out smooth, no issues, no concerns?
Yeah, not one issue at all.
No issues like Monroe City where they paid them and then they didn't take out the right amount of taxes, so because my friend is there, so they was asking them to
Give
refund.
the money back?
Yeah.
That ain't good.
Possibly similar to last year.
I will, and I will speak to, for the business department, they ran it 4 times to make sure that it was correct. in the taxes, so. Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
All right, item J, discuss student use of cell phones and other electronic telecommunication devices policy file JCDAE CL IFBGA and Act number 313 per recommendation of policy committee.
Gary, what I'm gonna do is defer to Melinda and Miss Johnny and let them get used to this because I'm about to bow out. I think, they did for encouragement purposes, they did a wonderful job. They were very attentive. They listened. They asked some wonderful questions, and I think, and I told Nick this, of all the years I've been on, this meeting went the way that it was supposed to because you had feedback, you had dialogue, you had all of those attributes that's needed to come up with a policy that's going to be advantageous. And the only thing that I would ask is that anybody that's dealing with this, take emotions out and look at what's going to be in the best interest of your child being educated here in Caldwell. And if you can look at that, you'll realize that whatever conclusion we come to, it's done in the best interest of the student, because there's a lot more to the cell phone than just cheating and all those other things. I think Nikki will have some reports, and I think as a matter of fact, you got some more information subsequent today, right, that you shared with me. Some of Ms. Johnny and Melinda, you want to give your digest? Okay, yeah. Ms. Johnny did wonderful yesterday. So let's hear it, Ms. Johnny.
Well, I mean, it was a very good discussion, and everybody tried to listen and keep an open mind to everything. I think we should go with this new proposal we have for the policy, which is going to raise the fine to $50 and keep the phone for 20 days. I believe that this is a thing that is not really. I mean, we're being really forced to do this because of the laws, the new laws that's passed. And we don't want to be not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And it's got to be somewhere that we can really, try to stick to. We got to have our teachers and everybody buy in to this, because if they don't, then it's not going to work and it's not going to change.
And we do have some concerns with them buying in.
We do. I'm very concerned.
There can't be any favoritism to anyone, but we're saying that we want the students to turn their phones in the mornings at the office. Then the 7th hour class will be the ones with the phones. They'll give it back to them about 15 minutes before they go to the bus, so mom and daddy can get in touch with them, tell them what they need to do, or they can find out what's going on. And then the next day will be the same thing. You turn your phone in. But if you don't want to turn your phone in, then you're going to pay the consequences. Or if you get caught with it, you're going to pay the consequences. And we're working around the government. We're trying to do the best we can to help, because we've been told, like Mr. Ralph said, a phone is the same thing as a BB gun, a knife, or a shotgun now. So we're trying to help so that the parents can still get in touch.
I will. So, yeah, and so this really came up as a result of the legislators passing Act number 313, which bans telecommunication devices throughout the instructional day. It comes at the end and says, or you can have them in your backpack in the off position. That's what our current policy is, and it's not working. Students still have the phones out. They're able to text, within their purses, within their bags. They take them to the bathroom. Mike provided a little bit of data for me this morning, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I didn't mention it yesterday, but both me and Mr. Lamb have noticed over the last year looking at the high school and the junior high, those students do use the Wi-Fi.
What was the number?
I would say it's kind of hard to come up
400 and something, right?
as far as the population.
Right.
Yeah. Student population is a little over 400, I believe. And right now we're seeing more. In the last year, we saw more cell phones on the Wi-Fi network than Chromebooks.
While school time
While
was
school
going on,
was going on.
instructional time.
Right.
So, Mike, can you put it 50, 60% of this, I mean, can you give some type of accuracy?
Without
more than
going
enough.
back and looking at that data, and unfortunately I don't have that data, it only lasts for 30 days.
Which means if Elena had those amount of infractions at her school, and those kids would have been disciplined according to the policy, we would have had a pretty much empty school, which would have affected not just the test scores, the individual's educational ability to go from one grade to the other. So again, it's not about taking a phone and punishing a person. It's about them having an opportunity to come to school for those 6, 7, 8 hours, get the education that they have, and then whatever they do before, after, it takes the burden off of them from their learning. And I think, Nikki, again, you had some information that you talked about during the meeting with regards to some of the statistical data, the mental health issues and all that. And I would like for you to touch on that more so than anything.
Absolutely. So I've done a lot of research on this. Ms. Garcia came to me when we did her end of year conference, and that was still one of the leading frustrations with her is having to spend so much time policing the cell phones and then dealing with cell phone usage, whether the teacher knows about it or not, leaving to go to the bathroom, calling parents, texting parents, sending Snapchat, doing all those things during the school day. So I began listening to a book called The Anxious Generation that talked a lot about how dependent we've become on our cell phones and what a distraction those cell phones are to us as adults, but then also for our students. And so we began having conversations about we owe it to our students to provide an atmosphere where they're free from the distraction of a cell phone. And as long as it's in your bag or it's in your purse or it's on your person, you've always got that, oh my goodness, did I hear a buzz? Did somebody text me? Did somebody not? And so turning the cell phones in at the beginning of school, first of all, you could leave them in your vehicle. You know, if you drive and you don't want to bring them. But if you need your cell phone, I have 2 boys who will be freshmen who won't have a vehicle to drive. They just turn their phones in, and that way they have access to them after school when they need to be picked up from football practice or baseball practice. And so it's just setting up a system where you turn your phones in. We have the metal detectors, and so you will automatically catch any phones coming through. You put them in, they're going to store them in a safe place, and the reason it says in a secure location is because the junior high may have a different room than like the high school has, but just to keep them safe and free from anybody messing with their phone. But then you have that, and the idea behind it too is that the mental health of our students is so impacted by that needing to check my phone and needing to know what's going on, pictures being taken that you're not supposed to be taking, and that you're not aware are being taken of you, and all those stressors that our students have on them because you think there's a cell phone. You never know, and you can never get away. And so the research that I've looked at here is that, of course, it improves your social, because you're able to talk to people and you're not worried about your phone. Higher academic scores, the research says that they've improved 14% because students are actually paying attention in class and not worried about trying to sneak their phone. Improvements in student mental health. Of course, decreases school exposure to pornography, and we didn't talk a whole lot about that, but our cell phones are not necessarily routed through our security system and our, what do you call that? Firewall?
Firewall or web filter.
Web filter. If they're using a Chromebook, it automatically goes through our filters. So you cannot access anything you're not supposed to, and so that's another side benefit there. Talks about cyberbullying laws, increased dependency. We provide Chromebooks for our students, and there's no need for them to have a cell phone to Google something or look something up. They have Chromebooks that they can do all this on. This is something, as I talk to teachers, increased grade honesty. There's so much cheating that goes on with cell phones. They hide them under their legs. They're Googling answers. They're taking pictures of tests, sending them to their friends. And so just not having those cell phones present increases your grade honesty. And then the last, of course, is a decrease in student incidents. When the principals are gone, or the principals notice when the phones are gone, then they don't have those discipline issues of, hey, let's meet in the bathroom and fight, or let's do this, or let's do that. It's back to the good old days of no phones.
We didn't have no cell phones.
We didn't have any cell phones. Some of the research here says that, one of parents' concerns, and because I do want to make sure I hit on that, parents' concerns, because that's going to probably be a big challenge for us, is helping parents to understand that with school safety, they want to be able to get a hold of their student. And the research here in this article, and I sent all this to y'all, is that when kids have phones, there's no research that says that in a school shooting, the phone helped it. That it helped at all. And what they have found is it actually deters, it's more disruptive because they're busy sending messages or not listening to the directions of where to go and what to do, and they're distracted by trying to talk. Misinformation gets out about what's going on because they don't necessarily know what's going on. And the phones might also give away their location. If it dings or vibrates, and someone would know where they are. Law enforcement says that they want kids to be situationally aware. If you're on your phone, you're not aware. Don't add to misinformation. You're listening to instructions, and most importantly, you get out alive. And so I think that our biggest sell here is not being able to get parents not being able to get in touch with their students. We have school phones that they can always use, and that those phones are going to be safe, and that's one of the reasons why we said that's fine, we'll check them in. That way you have them on the way to work, to school, and on the way home from school, and for your after-school activities. But during the actual instructional day, we want our kids focused on instruction and focused on the relationships that they have with their peers and with their teachers. And we don't want our teachers to be constantly having to enforce. I mean, it's going to be I feel like, from the conversations I've had with teachers, it's going to be a relief for them to not have to police the phones as much.
But we have all those apps too, that in case something happens,
yes.
You can tell about
the teachers
the apps.
have the rave apps.
Mm-hmm. And Rebecca, for your students, this addresses, just so public can know, if it's a 504 student, I'll let you talk about that.
Right, there is an asterisk there that says if a student with an IEP were to need, or a 504 plan were to have a cell phone for like a medical condition, like let's say that you have a Dexcom device, we can allow that as part of an IEP plan.
But that's part of their plan.
Right. It's not, just a blanket, but there may be some exceptions where we have, 2 or 3 kids in the system who, because of a medical device that they have that's, set up just to talk to the phone, we can allow that.
And the team would determine that.
Yes.
And to be clear, not only cell phones, but watches and earpods and anything else that.
Telecommunications device.
But this is coming from the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is coming from him. So we're trying to work around it so that parents will still be able to tell
Absolutely.
little Johnny to go ride the bus home to grandma's or whatever.
Because we could go for a total ban. That,
like not even on a bus.
Right, yeah. But we're stopping short of that again, which for every time we've dealt with this policy, we've always stayed shy of the total ban. And we did discuss it yesterday about, that option until we came up with the option that we have now, which is what we're doing. I think, Elena, the next big question is what happens if somebody refuses to give you the phone? What happens?
Well, that's what we talked about in policy the other day. We have the consequences that you mentioned, but a refusal would end up being whatever the phone will be taken out, that's they would spend in ISS, in-school suspension. So if it's a 20-day ban, you refuse to give it, they would go to a virtual learning ISS.
They go where?
Virtual learning. In-school suspension, but like virtual.
At that particular moment, though, if that student says, I'm not giving you my phone, you're gonna have to take it out of my dead hands.
Well, I'm not fighting to get over a phone. Like, I'm
So
not
what do
gonna
you
fight
do?
over it, so you just, like what we did this year when the child refused, we just let them be. We called the parent, we dealt with it that way, but at the time, you don't wanna engage with that,
Right,
that situation, so you can't take it from him, so we just let it be. They usually calm down, and they usually will come back around, and then we usually just call the parent, say, this is our issue, and if not, we'll call school resource.
All right, and y'all thought about how they're gonna turn their phones in
Yes.
every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 400 students, how many do you think have phones?
400.
Actually, a lot of them have 2 or 3, so you're really talking about
But
700 phones.
Remember, Elena, some of them are gonna have them in their vehicle.
Absolutely.
So
We
it's not
probably
gonna be.
have,
yeah.
I mean, most seniors drive, most juniors drive, some sophomores drive, so I would say over 100 kids drive.
And most of them are
How are
probably
you
even
gonna
in-
log those phones in every day?
We're, Ms. Wiles and I have talked, and we have like the accordion, like folders, like accordion, so we're gonna have to assign a kid a number. And, what I saw today was probably what I'm gonna do is order, like those little, clear pouches like you wear to a water park.
Yeah.
You know, label those with the, like there's a student number, like a sign in put by their 7th-hour teacher, their number, and we'll take those and put them in that pouch and put those pouches inside the accordion.
Are you gonna attach a number to the phone too?
I don't know.
We talked about that.
We talked about that, and I don't
Yeah.
know, so I know some students probably don't want a number on their phone, you know, so that's why I thought if they could put it in the pouch would, like, when they slide it in a pouch, the pouch would have
The number.
the number on it, and then when they leave, almost like you bring your Chromebook to school, like you take the pouch, so at the end of the day, we can just pull the whole pouch out and give them the pouch. They can take it, when they come back in the morning, the phone can already be in the pouch and just file it.
Well, but I think what you should do, Elena, and Nikki, we talked about this, is let you guys have enough discretion.
Right.
So you won't lock yourself into something
Right.
that may not
That's
work.
kind of the process
Yeah.
of what it'll be, so they'll give us the phone, put it in its location, put something labeled with their number or name, so if somebody just random can't go in and just grab
You
a
got
phone.
soft
At the end of the day, how much time is gonna be involved in handing these phones out at the end of the day? Is there gonna be a mad dash for
It's-
cell phones
to
to
me-
get on the bus, or mad?
We've talked about all that, it's gonna be, the first probably week, it's gonna be a learning curve of to see how many kids actually bring phones, because some of them aren't gonna want you to hold their phone. They're going to leave them in a car or someone else's car. They're going to leave them in a car or leave them or not bring them. If they live a short distance, they may just say, I'm not bringing it. You know, so the kids I figure will bring will be freshmen who live in Hebert or Duty Ferry or like way out, you know, that have an hour bus ride home or something like that. So I figure those would be the more likely because of.
And the idea that we talked about yesterday, Randy, is that they're divided by their 7th period teachers. And so, like, if I have a 7th period class, all the phones that I'm going to pass out are just my 7th period class.
Right.
And she talked about shifting some minutes from one period to the 7th period to give a little
Right.
extra time at the end of the day
Right.
to pass those phones back out before the
Get on
bell
the bus.
rings.
Well, and at the elementary schools, we've been doing this for years. The kids turned them in at the office when they walked in every day, and it wasn't nearly as many phones, but it didn't take long for you to learn. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
It didn't take you long to realize, you know, Hello Kitty is this kid, you know, Black Motorola is this kid, you know. I mean, you could get them passed out really quick
Right.
after the first
Yeah,
couple
that's
of
when we did
days.
elementary
so.
school, but like 10 kids bought phones, so they just brought them in and turned them in the office every day, and every day they'd walk in, you give it to them, and they walk out.
And remember, the kid's brain has not developed yet. So the
That's right.
dopamine that we talked about,
Right,
it's affecting the kid before they get
right.
4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
And I get they need them for after school
Right.
activities.
Right.
You know, practices in at different times, they can be picked up, so we want them to have access to them for extracurricular activities. So, to me, I would just say, if you have an extracurricular activity,
Right.
bring your phone and store it, otherwise, then you don't really need it, you know, so.
Our
Right.
sole intention is
Right.
to get kids' brains back into school
Absolutely.
and back into instruction and what we're there to do and provide a break from that constant, gotta check my phone, gotta check my phone, gotta check my phone.
All right, one more question.
Yeah.
And where it says other secure location. All right. So the definition of the secure location is going to be a designated area at each school where they will be stored, right?
Yeah, so like, which room will you lock the phones up in?
We have a side room, like, that's not used, that has like our networking stuff in it, can we lock in there, or the office where we have a camera, like where you can look and see like nobody's touched my phone today because the camera looks right at it, you know, so that was my first thought was I want a camera on it, so if somebody bothers it.
Mike, the room that you're talking about, is there a way that you could possibly install a camera in there?
We can if we can get one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can run a camera into that room.
But my thought was it to be in the office, you know, locked, like with the camera on it, so if a student checks out at fourth period and their phone is there, the secretary would just say, who's your last hour of class and what's your number? And they could say, you know, 552 or whatever, and they would say, oh, there it is, and you would just pull it and give it to them so that you don't have to go find the phone in another classroom or find it, you know, the secretary has access to be able to get it quickly, so.
I think the idea here was just to make sure we're going to keep them secure.
Right.
You know, but we didn't want to, we've got a learning curve here to figure out where's the best place to store them. And so we want to give them a little bit.
And we didn't want to say you can't have a phone at all. We just wanted to.
And like for extracurricular, we want to give them, like when the coaches, so they have 7-hour football. When they get to a football, we want them to have them after, football, so that the coaches could take them and dole them out when they're finished with practice or before, when they go to film, so.
So you're saying the coach is gonna take them 7th hour and they're gonna take them somewhere and they're gonna dole them up after practice?
Either that or because I want.
So they're gonna have to have a secure location for them too?
Or they can give it to them right there.
They're already doing it.
It's no different than if
Yeah, they do
I
it
had
now.
a 7th hour class and I went and got them from the office before my class to
Mhm.
wait for the end of my class. It's the same coaching.
Like I said, but there's so many that drive anyway that do extra. It's just really gonna be freshmen probably that don't have.
Well, I mean, we can revisit it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just those
December,
logistics.
December, yeah,
Trying
just
to
kind of
see
see
how it
how,
goes.
and but the only other option left is total ban. I mean,
Right.
and it's coming.
Yeah, that's the next
Yeah,
step.
that's the only other option that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's value in making sure that we explain this, to everyone to understand that, it's just like Miss Johnny said, it's cell phones, smartwatches, earpods, all those
Headphones.
things,
Any electronic
headphones,
device.
anything electronic device is not allowed into the school building during instructional hours.
that's
So you'll
true.
check it in and you'll check it out per Act 313. And then, so because now it is a policy that you don't have your phone anywhere in the building, the committee felt like we needed to up the consequences if you sneak a phone into the building. And that's why that first offense moved from a $25 fine to a $50 fine. We did discuss 100. We backed it down to 50. So just for the record there.
I stood for 50.
Thank Melissa.
So if you are caught with a phone beyond the check-in point, you have a consequence of either a $50 fine or the phone is locked up for 20 days. It used to be 10, now it's 20. So the committee recommended that we up that to deter kids from trying to sneak a phone in. So follow the procedures, do the right thing, know that we're trying to do what's best for you. That's a first offense. And of course, there's a cell phone agreement. The parent comes in, we'll have to sign off, understanding that this is what happens. If it happens again, we're moving to the second offense. The second offense used to be, there's no fine for a second offense, it's complete confiscation. It used to be 20 days, now it's 30 days. With the addition of now you've broken the law twice, you're going to be assigned 10 days of alternative placement with mandatory virtual learning. So basically that's, you also, for the second offense, get 10 days of ISS where you'll be doing virtual learning on your computer instead of with your classmates. So that seemed like a pretty hefty fine, a pretty hefty consequence for breaking it the second time. And then the last page is the third offense, because if you've broken the law 3 times, it's another major discipline referral as with the other 2, and the student is recommended to the alternative placement for up to 45 days. So it would be a third time, because at this point it's a willful disobedience. It's a repetitive, I've broken the law, this is my 3rd time, I'm making a choice, and so the consequences do increase. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, and so everyone knows. And we will do our best to communicate this and make sure there's no surprises, everybody knows, what the penalties are and what the expectations are.
Atlanta, not picking on you, but you don't trust me here.
I am.
Again,
Around.
but again, you know, all jokes aside, the concern is that if the teachers don't buy into it, there's gonna be an issue that it should be. So I guess what I'm saying, and I hope it's appropriate to say, that if it comes to the point where you have people that's not willing to execute what needs to be done, then the expectation of you as the principal is to, you know, have some type of penalties, even if it's, you know, a write-up of some kind. And hopefully that's not the case. But what we're saying is that there's an expectation that, I mean, it's gonna have to take place. Yeah, because otherwise, the only other option is just get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah. And hopefully, you know, we won't. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
if they're checked in, yeah,
Right.
if they're checked in, then there should be no phone. If a phone falls out of a bag,
Right.
you're referred,
That's
because
right.
you've confiscated, you snuck in a phone. You brought in a phone you're not supposed to. I'm glad you said that. You can say it loud.
Oh, wait, what?
Adults, you said.
Oh, employees and students.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
And
you
so-
can't sit there and tell that kid
Oh,
they can't
Nikki.
use their phone while you're going through Facebook.
And you remember, you guys do have group texts and the things that go on. That's
Yeah.
permissible
Yeah.
because that's part
Absolutely.
of your
Yeah.
job. That's part of your day-to-day operations. So, you know, the expectation is that teachers be aware that if it's job-related, it's
Right.
okay. Because I think somebody mentioned that.
And they did
Right.
mention, and we
They
also
have
talked
people
about
on
talking to
Facebook.
the principals, if that's and the communication they use a lot is group meet. And it's to keep from having to make announcements over the intercom. We just need to make sure that we keep those group me messages important messages,
Right.
and not sharing things that are not necessary or funny or you know, that it's really just a communication tool that's absolutely necessary. And then just being mindful of, you know, teachers do not need to be on their phones.
So Elena, speak now, forever hold your peace. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's gonna be a tough first
It's-
2
I mean,
weeks.
it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's no other way around because you're taking an addiction away from somebody and you're telling them to comply, which none of us, if we were at it, could do it. It's just impossible. So there's gonna be some issues, and hopefully you guys can address them accordingly, you know, on an individual basis. I think you can be tolerant of, you know, expulsion, suspension, ISS, the first, you know, whatever period of time, because we gotta give kids an opportunity to grow. We gotta give them the space to grow. So, hopefully, the Mr. Foys, Mr. Fredericks and all them won't be just antagonizing kids, because we don't, it's already hard enough to take this away from them.
Yeah.
And so just be mindful that you're dealing with, you know, a kid, somebody that's not used to rules, and hopefully, Nikki, we can get through this, because I was on the fence either way. Whatever we want to do, I'm ready for it. But I think we did the best we could. And if it's not like, then,
We're trying to work with it.
yeah, I mean, we can always
They
make,
just, you know, they just have to reimagine their life without a phone for a couple of hours.
That's
right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Couple
so-
hours.
Couple hours.
Do we have a motion that we accept?
I would like to do one, I'd like to bring up one thing,
Go ahead.
and I don't mean to stretch
no,
this
go
out.
ahead.
I have a problem with exception for emergencies.
Okay.
Why don't we just change that heading to emergencies? Because it says in the event of an emergency. But I just think exception opens up another window for somebody to abuse.
I've lost my comments.
I'm trying to find where it's-
I stacked them up, sorry.
The very last, the very last, the
Yeah.
very last one.
On the last
Yeah.
page.
But that's just me, y'all might not see it.
No, Brent, I think the committee is open to whatever that's gonna make it better and more meaningful, so I'm not in objection to
So
anybody's
that,
position.
that language was from the current policy that we have, so we can
I don't
absolutely.
mind that language.
Yeah, we can
It's the
absolutely
heading.
take it, yeah, we can
Exception.
take out exception for and just
Right.
put emergencies.
Just put emergency.
All right, consider it done.
It really was a good discussion,
It
because we
really
had
was.
principals and different
I had
people
several
here.
teachers.
There were a lot of teachers who
Teachers,
I
yeah.
thought had some great input, because when the first meeting we had, the teachers were a little bit stressed out, and, you know, I think all of us immediately thought, no, we're not gonna do anything that's gonna add more to teachers, but once
the school administrators figured out a system that the teachers, and they used, it was the teacher input really that came up with that, and then hearing all the teachers say, well, no, I don't want to deal with them at all in my classroom, that then it felt really different, so.
I think it's gonna be liberating for teachers to not have to deal with policing phones.
So James,
Well, I'm ready to vote
if,
now.
if Ralph gets on the bus, if Ralph gets on the bus with his phone, the bus driver wants to deal with that, what should they do? I'm just trying to make sure that the public is aware of what we're dealing with. So if the phone, because the phone is an extension of school, so if the phone is on the bus, what happens? Is there a penalty?
We did not ban them on that, yeah,
Right,
we did
but
not ban them.
I'm just making sure that the clarity is out there. That's the reason I'm asking. I know what they.
But use them appropriately on the bus,
Yeah.
because I had a
Right.
conversation earlier, that we had, heard about in another place where things were not being done correctly with phones on a bus. We don't wanna get to a point where we have to ban them from the bus, so.
Tell them about the bus driver training, and nobody saw it.
Well, yeah, you can rest assured, they're gonna
Okay,
work
good.
around the policy.
Yeah.
And the bus is gonna be the place to deal with it. So again, as long as we don't have any issues,
Right.
that's gonna be okay. But if the only other option we have left is a total ban. That means from the time you get on the bus to the time you get off.
And I've had a few issues in my time as principal, dealing with a student on the bus, taking photos of other students.
Right.
Same thing. We went to them, we told the parent, hey, you can't do it, had a conference with them, said, hey, you can have your phone, but you can't take pictures of everybody on the bus. You put your earbuds in, you listen to your music and all that kind of stuff like that, so long as you're not distracting the bus driver. And if it happens again, now we go to the next step with potential in-school suspension or removing the student from the bus.
Well, again, you have to thank Melinda because Ms. John and I, we were total. So, no, what I'm saying is people need to be mindful that there are people that really look out for the best interests of the kids and everybody that's involved. So I'm just applauding you guys because I saw what y'all did, and it was the best meeting in a long time.
It was a big discussion. I mean, it was not done lightly.
Right.
No, it wasn't.
And we had good
Yeah.
participation
Right.
from teachers, administrators, public, we did.
And I think a lot of us are gonna go home to unhappy children tonight.
Yes.
But that's okay.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So Randy, you want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Yeah, no wonder.
He's got his phone now.
No wonder.
I make a motion, we accept the policy as presented.
I second.
With one exception.
All in favor, say aye.
See, I'm grabbing my phone now.
Alright.
We gotta make a motion to.
Do I have
We gotta have
the
a report.
directors? Yeah, the directors.
You can't leave.
Okay, so put it in.
Teachers come back August 1st. Students soft start on the 6th and 7th, and everyone on the 8th. So it is here. It's less than a month away.
And we will
So
be sending out PDs,
yes, we're working on the professional development calendar for those first couple days so that you know which sessions you may want to come to.
All right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Happy anniversary!